Good morning, fellow Corla representatives, Foróige members, TDs and senators. My name is Ruth Cunningham from Roscommon Corla na Nóg. I am honoured to be here to talk about my perspective on climate challenges nationally. Today I will discuss energy consumption and conservation. Sunken towns, mass extinction, extreme weather events, loss of habitat. These all seem like distant issues, but that is not the case. Climate change is a real problem and it is happening right now. 78% of Irish youth believe that climate change is the #1 worry for the majority of young people, surpassing other important issues such as mental health and drugs and alcohol abuse. It no longer only affects third world countries, it is a global issue. According to National Geographic, sea levels have already risen by 23 centimetres since 1880. Furthermore, according to World Wildlife, global temperatures have already increased by 1.1 degrees Celsius since 1850. If we do not act now, by 2050, temperatures will rise by at least 1.5 degrees Celsius. Let's paint a picture of what that means for us. Sea levels will rise by 1.5 feet, leaving us with sunken coastal towns. Towards the west of Ireland, this would mean the disappearance of coastal hotspots such as Salt Hill, Ross's Point and Clifton. 70% of all coral reefs will be extinct. 1 billion people will be affected by regular heat waves. Precipitation will increase by 100%, severely impacting low-lying areas in counties such as Wexford. Plants and animals will be at risk of losing 30% of their habitats. These issues may not faze you right now. The majority of the people in this room over 50 will not live to face the consequences. However, for those of us who will be forced to confront the possible future, we must act now. Ireland has a long history of peat consumption, with many people across Ireland heating their homes with turf and consuming energy via peat-powered power stations. I come from a rural area in West Ireland that is still heavily dependent on peat consumption. A 2013 study of Irish peatland carbon emissions, published in Irish Geography, stated that industrial drained and stripped peatlands emit 2.1 tonnes of carbon per year, the equivalent of driving your car 30,000 kilometres. That's before the harvested peat is even burned. Despite the fact most peat consumers are aware that this is unsustainable, they have no other options. We need support to change. Our peat consumption has had negative effects on the environment. Peat-powered power stations emit nitrogen oxide and sulfur dioxide. When these gases mix with rainwater, it forms weak acid rain. This is harmful to human health, animals, and the environment. My nearest peat-powered power station is 10 minutes up the road. In 2019, the temperature of cooling water discharged from there into the River Shannon was too hot, causing concern over the well-being of fish in a local fishery and other wildlife species on the river. The potential for danger that these stations hold became a real and present danger to our environment. Thankfully, most peat-powered power stations have been shut down. Currently, our energy consumption looks like this. According to the SEAI Energy Use Report in 2020, approximately 86% of the energy produced in Ireland was non-renewable. Renewables have been on the rise in recent years, but face a dip of 0.4%. Although this is a step in the wrong direction, this was as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Even though this is a valid explanation, it does highlight the convenience of non-renewable energy over renewable energy at this time. We need to consider ways in which we can make renewable energy convenient, cost-effective, and readily available for consumers. Another global event that has highlighted our need for self-sufficiency was the conflict in Ukraine. Due to the inflation crisis, partially as a result of the conflict and the sanctions on Russian gas and oil, the price of energy has skyrocketed. According to KBC, there was a record 18.7% monthly increase in energy costs, which means that they are 43.8% higher than in March 2021. This has affected not only energy prices, but also housing, groceries, and transport. People have to choose between heating their homes and feeding their children. We should be able to recognise that a country like ours, with such good resources, should be self-sufficient. In my view, we should be inspired by other countries that have paved the way for renewables. For example, New Zealand has the third highest rate of renewable energy consumption, with a staggering 40% of the country's energy coming from renewable sources. Like us, New Zealand is also an island nation that relies heavily on hydroelectric and geothermal power. Currently, Ireland's hydroelectric power makes up for only 2.5% of our energy production. However, we have the capacity to install hydroelectric power stations, as most of our counties have rivers running through them. We should prioritise and invest into renewable alternatives to ensure Ireland's climate goals are met. This will emulate New Zealand's renewable energy consumption by availing of the natural resources that our island offers us. In conclusion, I believe we must band together to fight climate change now. Non-renewables are not the answer to the climate crisis. If we work together, we will slow down climate change. Thank you.